It has been almost 6 years since I decided to take the leap and quit my profitable six-figure business that I absolutely your job. We loved, and appreciated, and learned so much from. But it's been 6 years, and I think it was probably the best decision that I have ever made in my life, and I've never really just taken the time to share that story and share what the catalyst was that allowed me to make the switch, that allowed me to say, I feel confident quitting my job. I feel like this is the right decision. And at the time, I was a 26-year-old working my butt off. I didn't have a degree in business, but I did have a lot of other skills that I learned. And so I just wasn't really sure. Like I always in the back of my mind knew like this is something I wanted to do. I wanted to have my own thing. I wanted to be my own boss. But I never knew quite what that was going to look like or when. So in today's live, we are going to be talking about what that catalyst was and some reflections around that time. So if you're someone who is thinking about one day wanting to quit their job to start your own business, or maybe you're someone who has done so and you're not sure and you're feeling some regrets, like I just want to share this story for some lessons and takeaways. And this is part of the live pop-up show happening this week. It's called Live and Unscripted, Pep Talks and Stories. This is very raw and unscripted. I have a few notes jotted down of like things that I want to talk about, but this is very off the cuff. And this session is basically in honor of the Match My Month Black Friday deal that is happening the entire week. If you don't know me, my name is Alex. I'm a video strategist, and I have a membership called the Video Skills Lab, which basically helps you to build the ultimate video strategy for $9 a month. And during Black Friday, you're able to basically buy time upfront at the $9 a month rate, and I will match your time. I will give you free weeks in exchange for buying these months, plus some really exclusive, awesome private coaching bonuses with me. So the link is below to check out the Match My Month Black Friday deal. And we're just going to dive in and get into this. So I want to set the stage for, when I actually quit, like what situation I was in when I quit. So this was back in November of 2019. As I said, I was a 26-year-old who at the time was doing a bunch of different jobs. I worked at a commercial gym, and I was managing my own team of personal trainers who were, selling and coaching. I had my own coaching clients. I probably had around like 10 clients at the time. And I was also mentoring all the incoming managers, fitness managers, who were coming into the company, and basically getting them up to speed on what they needed to do in their roles, how they were supposed to be leading their teams, and a lot of other stuff. I basically was doing a lot of hats, but the key thing was like, I feel like I was thriving in roles where I was able to teach about leadership and coaching. And I just really, I was feeling this calling to kind of do something more. So in this job that I was in, I was excelling, like I was making really good money. I had great relationships with the people I worked with. I really, really loved the people that I worked with. But again, I just was feeling this calling for more, wanting to do more. And specifically, I remember feeling this calling to like write a book, or like there was something every night I would be thinking about it. Like that's something I wanted to do. At the time, I was reading a ton of books on leadership, and I was like, I want to, have my own take on this, right? And so one of the things that I ended up doing was I decided to join this $5,000 6-month cohort to write your book. I worked with this amazing guy. His name is Azul Taronas. He still has, pretty sure he still has this business. He's still doing this. He does book coaching. And the idea was to basically be in this group environment where you're all writing this book together. And he went through and, you help hone the idea that you have, and, actually write all of the pieces. And my idea was like, okay, I'm going to write this leadership coaching book, and this is going to be the book that launches everything. This is going to be the book that starts my business and builds my email list, and people are just going to flock to me. And so that's why I joined. I was like, I really think that, maybe this will just be like a side hustle while I figure things out, but this book is going to do something great for me. And what's interesting is I did get the book written and published, which was a big deal. But more than writing the book, the most powerful thing that happened during that entire 6-month period was that I was able to be around a group of people who were running their own businesses, who were a little bit older than I was, and who had a lot more experience in these areas of, running your own business and like entrepreneurship and, being your own boss and all of that stuff. And again, it wasn't just about it wasn't just about writing the book. It ended up being about getting to know these people and starting to realize that I was just like so many of these people, and that these people were amazing, but they were also like very normal. Like these people who had built incredible businesses, like they were just like me. They had so many of the skills that I had. They had so much of the same energy and so much of the same drive and determination that I had. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And so when I changed my environment, it ended up changing everything. So yes, I like to say, that this was the book was the thing that launched the coaching business, but really it was the change in my environment, getting to be around people who could show me, wow, you actually can do this. You actually could do this. And even though you're only 26 and you haven't had any degree or formal training, like you do have the skills, and it allowed me to see this. Right. And the biggest thing that was, I think, really holding me back from starting my job or starting my business was literally just this obstacle that I would ask myself this question is like, do I actually have what it takes? Like, do I really have what it takes to go and do this? Do I really have what it takes to go out and start this? And so what I had to do was a couple things. I had to prove it to myself. And I think there's three ways that I was able to go and prove it to myself. So the first way, I was like, okay, do I have the skills? And now, going through many, many years of entrepreneurship, I would probably tell myself, you can learn as you go. But at the time, I really was like, do I actually have the skills for this? So I literally sat down with a notebook and added up how many client hours have I worked? And it was literally like thousands of coaching hours that I had put in. I was like, how much revenue have I sold myself to grow the coaching businesses of, my team and the fitness business that I was managing? How much revenue have I personally added on? How many sales calls have I personally done? Right? How much time spent managing and doing all that stuff have I done? I went through and added up, and I was like, I have literally thousands of hours experience in some of these core things that matter. And and again, like if we're thinking about like, do I really have what it takes? No BS. Looking at those numbers immediately was like extremely reassuring for me. So that was the first thing that was really a game changer for me. Let me know if this makes sense to you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. I see someone saying hi a bunch of times. Hey, King Jr., good to see you. Good to have you here. All right. So that's the first way. Skills. Do I actually have those skills? So if this is you having those doubts, go through and literally add up. Do you have those skills? But again, me now going through many, many years, I'm like, you can learn as you go. The second thing I did was I thought about like, do I actually have the drive? Like, am I someone who's going to do this and just sort of give up right away? Am I going to be able to like take action every single day? And one of the big things that I did before I quit my job, so at the time, I worked crazy hours. I was working from like 6 a.m. to like 5 to 7 p.m. all day. And I was like, when am I going to build this business? When am I going to figure this stuff out? Right? So I ended up figuring out time, carving out time. I would get up at 4:30 a.m. and work until like 6 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. And then I would come home at like 6:37 and I would do more work then. And then I would sleep who knows when. But for me, like proving to myself, I do have the drive. And what I ended up figuring out was like during those hours, even though I was exhausted, literally working crazy hours, building this business on the side, even though I was exhausted, those hours, I was the absolute happiest in the early morning and the evening because I was building something for myself. So that's how I knew I'm going to have the drive to do this. I'm going to be able to do that. The last thing I wanted to prove myself was that I was going to commit, was that I was going to be able to take action relentlessly. And, another thing that I did was I didn't just say I was going to do it. I put some money behind it. Like I ended up in this current job, dropping a bunch of clients, rearranging my whole schedule, and like proving to myself again, not just talk, but through action and through like monetary sacrifice. I was like, I am going to be able to do this. I feel committed to this. So I proved in terms of skill, drive, and commitment, this is going to happen. And so what I did once I had that realization that I can do this, I changed my environment. I see people who are doing this kind of thing every single day, and I have the skills. I should do this. And so I just instinctively knew if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do this. If I don't do this when I'm in this environment, it's never going to happen. So despite the fact that I had no concrete business, there was no income coming in, I really had no product or anything yet, I was like, I'm going to quit. And I ended up looking at my finances at the time, and all I did was work and save money. So I ended up having enough to take an entire year off and basically just build my business. And if by the end of the year, I didn't have money coming in, I didn't have a business that was sustainable, that I could just, stay laid off, then I just took a year off and learned some stuff about myself and learned a little bit about business. And then I go and find another job. Right. But if I do succeed, then, what is it that I'm gaining? I'm gaining so much more. And I'm not recommending that anyone do something as crazy as that. That's usually not what I recommend for my own clients. But some of the reflections that I've had afterwards is that when I forced myself to do something so big and so scary, like taking this year, that it forced me not to play small. It forced me that, I have to take those actions. And so every day I would wake up and I wouldn't just lay around in bed. I wasn't just like hanging out, doing whatever, or like calling up my friends to go to the bar. I was like, I have to work. So I was working my ass off because I had that ticking clock that was going around in the background. So that was absolutely so huge for me, like stretching myself, in that way. Another big thing that, really helped once I actually, took that leap and quit was to make sure that I was investing in opportunities with people who were, like valued, but not necessarily like-minded. So in this book coaching cohort that I talked to you guys about, we all had very similar values, especially the coach, meaning like how we would treat other people, how we want to conduct business, like our views on the world. But the way that we would take to get to the end goal or to get to wherever we wanted to be was so different. So that was a positive thing because at the time, so many people in my life were just like yesing me, like every idea I had, they'd be like, yes, that's amazing, or you're so amazing, or blah, 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 which like feels good to hear. But you want to have people that are going to challenge you. So that was probably one of the best things that, I could have done. And it's something that I still can continue to do. So again, reflections after, taking this leap, do something so big you can't play small, invest to be around people who aren't just like-minded, but like-valued, people who will challenge you. And I think too, like make sure that you have given your partner, if you are married or you are living with your partner. At the time I wasn't married, but I was with my long-term partner. I think it was like 5 or 6 years at the time we'd been together. And I literally mapped out, here is how I'm going to cover my half of the rent. Here is how I'm going to pay for my half of food. Here's how I'm going to do this. And like, I was so set. Like I wanted him to be able to trust me. I wanted him to be able to trust that I knew exactly what I was doing. I wasn't going to be, you know, someone who, he couldn't count on. And I think a lot of times when, if you've ever heard that like objection where people are like, oh, I have to talk to my husband or I have to talk to my wife. And like, sometimes it's just an excuse, but sometimes there is like this lack of trust because they have invested so many times and it hasn't panned out, or they have done things so many times that just haven't worked out and they've lost that trust. You have to give your partner a reason to trust you, a reason to believe in you. And so it's making sure that you've got that plan to show them and making sure that you follow through on that plan, because you can very, very easily lose that trust. And then when you lose that trust of that person, it becomes even harder to continue to work because now you're surrounded with people who just don't believe in you because you haven't given them a reason to. And so I really do believe that's been like one of the biggest things that have been, having that support and trust was just absolutely huge. And I see someone saying, what if we are worried about it? Worried about what specifically would be my question. I said earlier, if you are unsure if this is the right time, like how do you definitively know, like, okay, now is the right time? For, like I said earlier, the way I did it was like proving it to myself. Do I actually have the skills? Do I have the drive? And do I have the commitment? So if you came a little bit late, go back in this live and listen to that whole thing, but prove to yourself you have those things you need. Start taking action. Don't quit anything until you have proved to yourself that you are actually going to follow through. This is actually something you enjoy. This is actually the direction that you want to go. And then go from there. So do be smart about it when taking action. Okay, awesome. Do you guys have any questions that I can answer on this topic about, how do you know if it's the right time? Any concerns that you have? This was such a fun live to do. Again, I am doing this live in honor of two things. Well, I'm doing this pop-up live show this week. Unscripted pep talks and stories to spark business momentum. And it's in honor of the Match My Month Black Friday sale. So this sale is happening until December 1st. And you can get into my Video Skills Lab membership, which basically gives you access to live coaching, video reviews, an entire library of trainings and scripts to build the ultimate video strategy. So you can sell your offers, grow your audience. The membership's usually $9 a month, which is already crazy affordable, but I'm making it even sweeter, where you can basically buy time upfront in the membership and get bonuses. So you could buy 4 months for $36. That's the typical price, $9 a month. But you could buy those 4 months up front, and I'll give you a month extra. Plus, I'll give you access to a bonus, this private podcast that I am going to be running that gives you behind the scenes of basically how I'm planning my next 2 events. You could buy 8 months and get 2 months free, plus get access to an entire day of private messenger coaching. You could buy 12 months, get 3 months free, plus the private podcast, plus the messenger coaching, plus I'm doing a fun private annual video Zoom review. I'll put the link in the comments for anyone as well who's here. Okay, so that's what that looks like. I would love for you to join if you are trying to get your video strategy sorted in 2025, going into 2026. This is the go-to. If you don't know what the Video Skills Lab is, you can click on the page to like learn more and to get more of a sense. But it's got so much good stuff. Like I said, we have an entire library of like 50 plus trainings and scripts. We've got a script critique where every single Monday, I literally go in and will review your script from entirety, like from the title to the actual like hook, to the call to action, to the content itself. I go through and give you feedback on everything. We've got monthly Zoom hot seat coaching that happens every single month. The next one's actually happening tomorrow, where you can basically hop on Zoom, ask me whatever your video marketing questions are. We do a live masterclass every single month as well. This month was all about how to write really great behind the scenes videos. And then we've got our private student community as well, where you can be in there asking questions. So I would love for you to get in on the Match My Month deal. I think it's going to be so much fun. We've already had a bunch of people get in on the fun. Would love to have you as well. But otherwise, it was great to have so many of you here live today. If you were here watching live, drop me a hashtag live or hashtag replay. And if you're new here, because I do see a lot of new people, subscribe to the channel. Hit like so more people can find this content. I am someone who used Facebook for pretty much my entire business from 2020 up until most of 2025, until Facebook decided, screw you, I'm going to start deleting lives off Facebook. And live video was the primary way that I have been filming my content. So I'm like pretty new to YouTube. I really like, most of my audience isn't on here yet from Facebook. We're still like kind of in the building phases, but I'm liking YouTube so far. And it's somewhere that, especially in 2026, that I'm planning to do a lot more content on video marketing, content like this that I did today, to like lessons from running my business and all that good stuff. So if you're excited, hit like, subscribe, let me know you were here so I can say hi to you as well. And I will see you all real soon. I will be going live again tomorrow for day 3 of the Live and Unscripted Pep Talks and Stories to Spark Business Momentum. I think tomorrow I'm going to talk about motherhood and entrepreneurship and what that's been like. I have a 16-month-old daughter and running this business, and I'm going to talk more about that. All right. Talk soon.